Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Blu-Roy Movies. I hope we're all well. It's a nice sunny Sunday morning. The clocks have gone forwards, so come on, you lot, get out of bed and let's talk about some films. This week we watched 9 titles. Yep, quite a busy week of watching. So let's get into this. Let's have a look at what I've been watching. Right, we kicked off the week with The Island from 1980, I think, starring Michael Caine. This is based off a Peter Benchley novel, the same author as Jaws, and excuse me, not a patch on Jaws, this I'm afraid. In fact, it was pretty terrible. This stars Michael Caine and this investigative journalist who heads out to the Bahamas and is investigating the Bermuda Triangle and why all these ships are disappearing. And when he gets there, he's kidnapped by these pirates who've been living the pirate life for 500 years, who are headed up by David Warner, who I think was the best part of this film. They kidnapped Michael Caine because all the years of inbreeding have left them with webbed feet and disabilities and all sorts. And they want Michael Caine to maybe enhance their bloodline a little bit. When they're actually doing some pirating, this is a very good and very brutal film, but it's just the stuff in between there. It's so bloody boring. Caine just spends most of the film tied up and that's about it. Yeah, it was a bit of a chore to get through. As I say, whilst they were doing the pirating, it was good fun. Watching them board ships coming into the area and plundering them, killing and all that. Yeah, not one I can recommend very highly, I'm afraid. It was alright, it will stay in the collection. Yeah, that's The Island from 1980. Next up, I watched a rewatch, but for the first time on 4K, The Unforgiven, written and directed by the marvellous Clint Eastwood. Now, for me, I think this is my favourite modern Western. And how do I define modern? Anything after like the classical 50s, 60s era for me. So I'd say probably in my lifetime, I was born in 69, so I'm going to class anything in my lifetime as a modern Western. Probably just as an act of making me feel a bit younger, but there you go. Yeah, I love Unforgiven. What a great film. This is starring Clint Eastwood as this grizzled former outlaw who's retired and settled for a life in the country. His wife has died and now is raising his kids. And something happens in a town nearby where Gene Hackman is like the horrible sheriff, where this prostitute gets her face cut up, and the other prostitutes there, they raise some money together to pay for the guys who cut this prostitute's face to get killed. And Clint teams up with Morgan Freeman and heads off to do the deed. Unfortunately, Clint's well past his cowboying days and his aim isn't as good as it used to be, and he struggles to get on his horse, which is something I imagine like Eastwood was probably my age now, and I can certainly empathise with the character. Like, it's been a fair few years since I watched this last, and in that way it hit with me a lot more, because there's no way I'm getting up on a horse in any hurry. He's trying to get up and he's falling off and all sorts. Yeah, really good stuff. It's a pretty brutal Western at times, but it's brilliantly acted, brilliantly directed, and Richard Harris as well. Love Richard Harris. The late great Gene Hackman, he was great as the awful sheriff. Yeah, brilliant Clint Eastwood Western. Yeah, like I say, my favourite modern Western. What's your favourite modern day Western? I'll be intrigued to hear. Please let me know in the comments below. Yes, The Unforgiven. Next up from Indicator for myself was Endless Night, directed by Sidney Gilliat. Now, this had a great cast. Hugh Bennett, George Sanders, Hayley Mills, Britt Eklund, Per Ockerson, Peter Bowles, Lois Lewis Maxwell, Moneypenny from the Bond films, Windsor Davis, who English audiences will be familiar from the Carry On films, and It Ain't a Half Hot One. He was brilliant, Windsor Davis. Now, I've watched this less than a year ago, and I barely remembered what happened, which is probably an indication of the quality and how much I enjoyed it. Yeah, I found it pretty slow going. It's based off a Agatha Christie story come novel, so I was expecting a murder mystery type film, but there is a murder in it, but it doesn't come to the last 20 minutes, and everything leading up to the murder was pretty ponderous and slow and drawn out. And don't get me wrong, I like slow films, but I did find this heavy going. Hayley Mills, Britt Eklund, good to look at, but that's about it, I'm afraid. Yeah, like I say, been a week and barely remember the plot. So that's Endless Night. Yeah, not one I can highly recommend, I'm afraid. So I had to stop the video then because my mate called me, and he makes these homemade curries and they're marvellous. But I had one last night and it was so hot, and I've been struggling with bum burn this morning. God, it's been awful. But that's another story. Anyway, on with the show. Next up, I watched Taxi Driver. Now, Taxi Driver, directed by Martin Scorsese. Now, I think this is my third viewing in all of it, and every time I watch it, it gets a little bit better. The first time I saw it, I didn't really care for it at all, and last time I thought it was all right, but this time it hit me more and more, and yeah, it's improving with age. Well, with my age, I suppose. Yeah, Robert De Niro's brilliant in this, and this character who's going through this arc and descending into madness, Travis Bickle. Yeah, he plays him superbly. And what an ending with Harvey Keitel, and brilliant violent ending. Yeah, it's like I say, maybe it's me getting older, and your opinions on films change as you get older. I've found that out myself, but every time I see it, it seems to get elevated a bit higher, and I can start to see why people put it up there in their favourite movies list. It's not quite there for me yet, but who knows? 10 years' time, if I'm still going, it might well be. Taxi Driver, Robert De Niro. I might watch it again in another couple of months ago, see what happens, because I find it quite interesting. Yeah, Taxi Driver. Now, on Ollie's fantastic live stream from a couple of weeks ago, they were talking about a film, and I didn't appear on the live stream, but I rewatched it. They were talking about a film, and they were saying, "Oh, Roy will never watch that." And in an act of probably pig-headishness and foolishness, and just to prove them wrong, I grabbed myself a copy and watched it. Dirty Dancing. Now, I've never watched Dirty Dancing. It's not my thing, and there's a reason why it's not my thing, because it was pretty bloody terrible. Oh my God. Starring Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey. Jennifer Grey, she stars as this young lady, probably late teens, who goes on a holidays with her family, a mum and dad and a sister, to this holiday camp for rich people where, God, it looks bloody awful. Give me Butlins any day over that place. At least you get some sea, sand and a decent chippy, not just mountains and rich toffs. She goes to this holiday camp and meets this like the camp slapper, if you like, who works there, who gets knocked up, and she can't perform because she's pregnant, and on the day that she's due to have an abortion, there's a show go on, so she agrees to stand in for her, even getting her dad to pay for the abortion. Yeah, go figure, she just met this girl. And then she falls for like the camp Lothario, who's such a dodgy character, a womanizer. Yeah, she wouldn't trust him with anything, and they fall in love, and he teaches her to dance, and she becomes this, from 2 left feet to this professional class dancer in 2 days or something absolutely ridiculous. And apparently the better you are at dancing, the less clothes you have to wear. I don't know, it's just ridiculous. Yeah, this, for me, what a chore to get through. The only good thing I can say about it was the final dance at the end. I quite enjoyed. That was pretty good, but apart from that, it's sickly, it's nauseating, and it'll no way go in the player ever again. So if anybody wants a copy of Dirty Dancing, let me know below and I'll send it on to you. What a bag of bollocks. And next up, directed by Joe Dante, Matinee, and a rewatch for myself, starring John Goodman. And this is a good little film. Not going to trouble you much, but it's great fun. This stars Goodman as he's a film director who makes all these 50s schlocky sci-fi films. So if you're a fan of that sort of thing, I'll very much guarantee it, because you'll get something out of it. His latest film is premiering in this cinema in this small American town that's also like where the Air Force base is, near the coast closest to Cuba during the time of the Cuban Missile Crisis. So everybody's paranoid that the Russians are just about to drop the bomb on America and that. And it's a slice of looking at life at the time in America, as I say, with everybody paranoid and worried that everything's going to end, and they're ready to hit the floor and hide under a table because apparently that'll save you from a nuclear bomb. Yeah, just a good fun time with Goodman premiering his film and is rigging the cinema so it has all these different special effects going on in the cinema. Smoke and shocks in the chairs and all sorts. There's a bit of a love story involved with these 2 young'uns as well. Yeah, good time. Well worth picking up on the Arrow label, that one. I enjoyed that one. Joe Dante, good director. That's Matinee. Next up was definitely pick of the week. High and Low, directed by Akira Kurosawa, starring the fantastic Toshiro Mifune, who's really a favourite of mine. A brilliant crime film. I think the first crime film I've seen by Kurosawa, so I'm looking forward to checking out his other ones. This stars Toshiro Mifune. He's works for a shoe company, is on the board of directors, and his interest is to make quality shoes, and he wants to tie all his money into the company so he can take over the company and take control of it, because they want to go along the line of making cheaper shoes, which he's not into. He's all about quality, even at the expense of profit margins. Now, in a case of mistaken identity, his chauffeur's son gets kidnapped thinking it's his son, and then he has this moral dilemma of, should he pay the ransom for the chauffeur's son, or which will ruin him financially and kill all his dreams of taking over the company and carrying on the good name of the company, or should he let the police try and solve it without paying the ransom? And yeah, great film. His dilemma, and that you think, which way will he go? And then watching how it plays out, yeah, it's a brilliant film, which I loved. Right up there now with the best of Kurosawa's films for myself. Yeah, really good stuff. If you like his films and you haven't watched that, grab a copy, because awesome and great ending too. Yeah, brilliant film. High and Low, easily the pick of the week. And next was the second Joe Dante film of the week, with The Howling from 1981. Now, I thought I'd seen this before, but if I had, I certainly can't remember, because it was like a brand new film for me. It stars Dee Wallace and Patrick Matinee. Dee Wallace is a television reporter, and she has a near-death run-in with a serial killer, and she's sent to this island resort to recuperate and recover. But unfortunately, the inhabitants of the island resort aren't quite what they seem, and they turn into werewolves. Now, very, very slow start to the film. It took a long time to build up, but the last half an hour or so, when everything kicked off, I really enjoyed. I thought the special effects of the werewolves was right up there with American Werewolf in London. I loved the transition scenes, and it got bloody and gory and everything you want in a good werewolf film. It, like I say, it's just the bit of getting to the good stuff, and a decent twist in it as well. Also had Patrick Matinee, who's probably the most recognisable face in there. He weren't in it for long, but got Bill in there because probably, like I say, he's the most recognisable face. Yeah, it was all right, The Howling. One definitely to keep in the collection, and one I'll watch again in the future sometime. Next up for myself, and also like The Howling from 1981, Brian De Palma's Blowout. Now, this was the first time watching what I've been doing all these years, because this film was marvellous. John Travolta's on top for me, one of the best Travolta performances I've seen. With Nancy Allen, also John Lithgow. The second time I've seen him in a De Palma film as a bad guy, and yeah, another great performance from him as the baddie. This is a brilliant crime conspiracy type film. John Travolta is a sound engineer for the films, and one day whilst he's out recording for his next movie, he accidentally records a car crash, and when he's listening back to the recording, things aren't what they seem, and it becomes more sinister, and he gets dragged into this conspiracy of murder. And yeah, just a great time. I really enjoyed this. The music by Pino Donaggio, which I'm going to nick Tim's joke here, it says sounds like a bottle of wine, was very good. But it's so bleak. I wasn't expecting the ending at all. It was so bleak, and I just kept thinking about it afterwards. Yeah, I'm sure if you've seen it, you'll know what I mean. I certainly weren't expecting it to go that way. And that's the perfect scream, as they said in it. Yeah, great film. Highly out of print now, I think, on Arrow. But if you can grab a copy, you haven't seen it, like me, you're an idiot, you haven't watched it, grab it, because it's bloody marvellous. So, that was it for the week. 9 titles. Which ones have you seen? What did you think? Do you agree with my thoughts? Do you disagree? Which you probably will with Dirty Dancing, because everybody loves it. I don't know why, but there you go. Give me a like if you've liked what I've done here today. Maybe think about subscribing if you want to hear more of this waffle. And I'll catch you on the next one. Ta-ra.